Mike David here, Doc.
Okay, it is 4:15. I make a motion, call the meeting to order. First order of business, we did just finish up a non-public session upstairs, and that was under 91A32C with our tax collector, and I make a motion we seal those minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. With that, would you please rise and join me with the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, Sam Martin?
Yep.
Bob Freeman?
Yep.
And Rick Morgan's here.
Always here, not in front of the, in the middle of the lake.
All right, public input. Anybody from the public first before we start into our, yes ma'am?
My name's Marilyn Delgado, and I'm with the Ossipee Concerned Citizens, and the seniors there are very upset about the hot top in the front. And I know it's been voted to have it done at the meeting, and I know that it was supposed to be done when they did the paving for the freight house over there. And I don't know if any of you had taken a walk over there, but it's all dug up and it's all not smooth, and a lot of them have walkers and canes. And we're just wondering when that's gonna get hot topped.
You're talking about the parking lot?
In the front of the
between
building.
OCC and the street?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know that it's been on our list recently.
I have spoken with Jim up there in the past 2 or 3 years. They said we put it on the list there. We didn't have it on the list when we did the Freight House parking lot.
Okay.
But we thought when we were gonna repave Door Street that we would probably do it then. We just did a shim on Door Street last summer there. We haven't done the top on it yet, because not knowing if we're gonna do any water line work in there or not yet, so.
Okay.
Well, we can look at that, get a quote on that, see if we can squeeze it into a budget, because we did come in fairly low this year on it. If you'd like, I would measure it up and have that looked at to see if it would fit in, or.
My own thoughts are, and certainly you guys chime in, my thoughts, especially given the elderly that are walking in and out of there every day, I can understand what would be a concern.
Yeah.
Why don't you, get a price and see when it could be worked into a schedule. Do you know when they're gonna top coat Door Street, or when?
No, we don't have that scheduled right
Okay.
now anyway, so.
So that's not on for this year's list anyway?
No.
Is there another job close by where it would make some sense to try to incorporate?
Yeah, because we will be doing, this end of Pine River Road,
Yep.
across Route 16 there.
Yep.
And we're actually gonna be doing just down the street, we'll be doing the top from any Nichols Road out.
Okay.
So we're gonna be right close by anyway,
All right.
so.
Why don't you price it out and see if that's something that we can squeeze in?
Yep.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
I'll let them all know. Thank you so much.
And, no guarantee it's gonna happen in a
No,
month, but
I
it's
know,
gonna
I
be,
understand.
bumped up, and my prediction would be that it will happen this summer.
In the meantime, Brad, if we have any holes over there or something, can we fill them up for them?
I'll take a look, I don't know if so much holes of it's just
It's
really
just-
rough.
it's gone.
It's very
Okay.
bad.
All right.
Probably,
It's gone.
it's not like it's a hole and you can just patch it. No,
Yeah.
it's bad.
Yep, okay.
I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm on the agenda. I sent a letter to the selectmen.
You did.
Middle of the week. So
That's all right. I got it. Go ahead, sir.
I don't know if you've had time to consider that yet or
We've,
not.
we've all got a chance to read it this afternoon.
The Dan Opon Watershed Trust is applying to ELCHA, the state program, for funding to help finance the Granite Road project that we've been working on. And it's routine, apparently, LCHIP, which is the Land and Community Heritage Investment Program, funded by the was it $25 on every deed and mortgage in the state. They asked for a relevant municipal governing body if they would support or approve the application for the funding. It doesn't mean supporting the project itself, but essentially it does. It's supporting our application for the funding.
I was a little, listen, and at this point, I was kind of surprised that the L-chip funding wouldn't have been sought in advance of the decision to buy it, to be honest. It seems like you've kind of done it a little backwards.
In a sense, we had, because we had an opportunity to purchase the property at a bargain sale, and only if we could pay for it at the time. We fortunately had money saved up from past years from our members, and so we were able to purchase the property. Now, effectively, we borrowed money from ourselves to purchase the property. Now we're requesting grants and donor financing to replenish our kitty so we can move on in the future. But it does put us at a bit of a handicap because, you know, some donors would say, well, you've got the property. It's not such a priority, but to us it is.
And I have a problem just simply because of what happened with the business with Bob Gillette and you, Dan Pond, regarding that survey and all the other things that went on. I didn't think it was done well. I think it was done very underhanded. I personally will not sign that.
Survey?
When you look for the money for the build-out survey, build-out study,
I can
the
explain.
board was, it's still over and done with. The board was lied to.
But I don't think by him, in fairness. I don't want to, I'm not disagreeing with you about the way that it was handled.
But this may be an opportunity to explain our role in that.
I thought you did fine, and I didn't think that he was dishonest. In fact, it was him that in this very meeting that said that Bob had contacted them.
It actually began, I was on the Conservation Commission, and Green Mountain came to the commission and asked if the commission would support the build-out study of Ossipee. The commission discussed it, thought should we provide partial funding or all the funding, and they thought maybe the commission could provide half. The land trust, I went back to our land trust, and we decided to help out that we would provide half. That was long before Bob Gillette appeared on the scene. So then things went on in the town meeting, but our long-standing commitment was if the commission needed funding, we would contribute half of it. And that's similar to what we did with windows on the Ossipee and the wildlife corridor on Duncan.
And I don't, listen, sometimes because you take a particular stand on something, people automatically assume that you are against everything to do with conservation, et cetera. And I don't speak for anybody else, but with me, that could not be farther from the truth. I have no issue with the Watershed Trust helping to fund our Conservation Commission to study certain conservation pieces of property. I do not like the process that ended up happening in that whole thing. I think it got very skewed and very underhanded, and I think it was unfortunate, but I don't think it was underhanded on your part at all. I thought that he was actually quite forthright with us. As far as this L-chip funding on this, when I read the letter, the only thing that kind of took me aback a little bit, and I would simply ask that you correct the language a little bit. When it talks about, I'll read it. It says, the Dan Pond Watershed Trust is applying to the New Hampshire Land and Community Heritage Investment Program for a grant to help pay for our recent purchase of the 180-acre Monroe's Preserve property on Granite Road. The Conservation Commission identified the property as a high conservation priority. By conserving that property, we are ensuring that Ossipee residents will be able to continue fishing in this section of Pine River that runs through the property, hunting, hiking, etc. My only caveat to that letter is that people can fish that river regardless who owns it. It's a navigable, it's what's termed a navigable water. It can never be closed to fishing, and nobody will ever own the river. So anybody and his brother who ever wanted to, could before, can now, and would be able to, no matter who owns it, continue to fish the river. Again, in the interest of transparency, I don't think that particular statement is accurate.
I guess what I would say is we could ensure probably easier access
That, I think, is.
from various points.
That language, I
because the
think,
property
would
would not be closed off.
what I'm simply saying to you is that language would be more appropriate.
Yeah.
Because yes, it would help people access the river for fishing, etc. But to suggest that they can't fish it if this wasn't part of it, that's not true.
Okay.
Um,
Good point.
What, do you have any thoughts on this?
I don't have any thoughts on that.
Mr. Chairman,
Just,
may I question something?
Sure.
Could you explain a little background of what you're being asked to do, or what the letter asks for you
Yep.
to do specifically?
what they're asking, the Danville Pond Watershed Trust has purchased a 180 acre parcel of land in the granite section of Ossipee, which will now be known as the Monroe Preserve. The trust has bought that piece of property, is now applying through LCHIP for partial funding or a grant. And in order to apply for that grant, they need a member of the governing body, which would mean a majority of the government body, to sign off on their application to the LCHIP program. Does that answer it?
Yes.
Okay.
Tommy has a question.
I'm sorry? Yep.
Does that only have a 50-foot entrance on that property? From what I understand, what you said, its conservation was that there's only a 50-foot right-of-way into there. Is that correct?
There's a in-holding, the 1.5 acre in-holding that Ed Wilder owns, and he has a right-of-way from Granite Road driveway to his property.
No.
Then the rest
You
of
only have 50 feet on the road, is that correct?
the property,
The way you explained it the
No.
other night.
no, there's about 500 or 700 feet of road frontage, I think.
The property has already been bought. It is in conservation easement and will stay there. I make a motion that we approve the submission of this application.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Date is the 19th. All right, I've signed it, and then if you will see Ellen, after the meeting tomorrow, and get a copy of it, but we certainly need to have a copy of it as well.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
All right, anything else on the public input before we move on? All right, first thing in the red folder, we have the minutes of the Selectmen's work session, which occurred on Monday, May 30th. I make a motion, we approve it as printed. All in favor? And we have the minutes of the Selectmen's meeting, which occurred on Monday, June 5th. I make a motion, we accept them as printed.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Check voucher totals. Payroll for week ending 6/17 with payroll taxes was $40,163.04. Accounts payable week ending 6/10 was $18,570.15. We dispersed to the 3 precincts $110,117.83 for a total dispersed last week of $168,851.02. I make a motion we sign.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have to sign before the lights go out.
Yeah.
This is a cemetery deed. The person who purchased a lot, I make a motion we sign.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This is a Selectmen's deed for the same,
That's the property that was repurchased.
sorry.
That was taken by tax deed.
This property was originally taken to tax deed. It's at 47 White Pond Road, map 129, lot 10. Previous owner repurchased it. I make a motion we sign.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This is another one, previously taken it by tax deed, map 270, lot 20. They have bought it back with penalty. Make a motion we sign.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That one needs to be dated too. A memo from Brad Harriman regarding excavator rental. Contacted 3 rental companies for quotes for the rental of an excavator for 1 month to install the catch basins and culvert along Circuit Road. Through Hertz Rental, a 30,000-pound machine is $35.95 a month. United Rental for a 19,000-pound machine is $35.75 per month. Blaze Equipment Rental is a 30,000-pound machine for $4,000 a month. Hertz Rental has the lowest price, and we need the larger machine for its reach and ability to set the catch basin. His recommendation is to award it to Hertz Rental, who is in fact the lowest. I make a motion we approve it.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
219,
It is. This is a memo from Brad Harriman. This is regarding the water meter upgrades.
So we figured those, because last week, if you remember, we kind of messed up and didn't have the installation costs according to those other 2 options, option 2 and 3.
So this is on replacing all of the meters. Previously, we'd already talked about going with it over a 2-year plan. The total cost to install all of them would be $174,667 to do it in 1 year. Option 2, which is to do it over 2 years, would be year 1, $94,691, and year 2, $79,975. Or the third option is to do it over a 3-year period of time, where year 1 would be $68,000, year 2 and year 3 would be about $53,000 apiece.
I did, Bo looked up for me, we've got that capital reserve account has right now a total of $163,653, of which $60,650 is spoken for that water line project, which leaves us just over $100,000.
Okay.
We also know that $94,000 figure, if we do the 2-year option with the installations, we'll be able to come in, we know we'll come in at least $10,000 under that, because the installation cost we have, we feel is very high, and the fact that the water department will do some of the installations themselves also. So,
My only concern, and that's fine, but my only concern is then, just thinking in advance, I mean, yes, there's $100,000 in the fund right now, that's not spoken for. We know
that based on history, that there'll be a certain percentage left out of this year's budget, which would traditionally go into that fund, which has been averaging, Connie, help me out, 30,000, 40,000, in that ballpark, which would still leave us short this coming year for the second half of that unless we address it to a
Warrant article.
warrant article.
Right. And if you're going to option 3 there, you could probably do it with the money's left over each year would be.
As much as I'd like to do it in 2 years, that concerns me, trying to do it in 3. But realistically, with the 3-year option, it's entirely likely that the money would be there from the surplus of budgets from the next 2 years. Second question, if we pursued a 3-year plan now, let's just say that the installation costs do come in better than we anticipate, et cetera, then there's nothing that says we couldn't bump this up and do it, finish it 2
Yeah,
years,
we have the money.
if we had the money available.
Right. Right now, we're just choosing that plan. We're gonna-
I'm gonna make a motion that we proceed with option 3, which is to install the new meters over a 3-year plan using these figures. If those figures should change and allow us to do it 2, we prefer to do it 2. But let's pursue doing it over 3 years, because I know that, I'm pretty confident the funding will be there in that. Make sense?
Yep.
I make a motion, we proceed with option 3 to install them over a 3-year period of time.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I do think it's important that we get them done sooner rather than later if we can, but we also have to make sure the money's in to pay for it, so. We have the Highway Department work log, which is here in the folder for anybody to look at if they'd like. This is a voucher.
I meant to put a cover sheet on there. There was one, there was a supplemental payroll from last week.
Correct. And that's a supplemental voucher for, it should have been to last week's in the amount of $268.62. I make a motion we sign it. All in favor?
Aye.
And this is also a supplemental voucher in the amount of $383.27. I make a motion we approve it.
Yeah. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Supplemental voucher for last week's in the amount of $67.24. I make a motion we sign it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So, request for abatement, this is on map 130, lot 12, sub 45, and it was on a camper that was registered as of April 1st, 2017. This should not have received a tax bill. Results in a refund or abatement of $125. I make a motion we approve it.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. You have a supplemental tax warrant to collect $225. I make a motion we sign it.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We have this is entitled a Special Limited Power of Attorney with Durable Clause. This is between the town of Ossipee and Richard Sager, who has been going to be conducting an auction of town-owned property. This durable power of attorney authorizes him to execute the deeds. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different properties which are listed here. I make a motion we sign.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have a memo from Craig on the issue of chairs and tables. He proposes that we require a non-refundable payment of $50 for the rental of tables and chairs, and that we require a $500 deposit. The $500 will be returned if all tables and chairs are returned in good condition. He goes on to point out that the cost to replace one table is $80, To replace one folding metal chair is $12.50. If a party rented 10 tables and 50 chairs, it would come down to $1,425 if they want to return it. Another note, renting a table through a vendor is $30 a day. Renting a chair is $1 a day. If the party was to use a vendor to rent 10 tables and 50 chairs, it would cost them $350. I understand Ossipee residents have a right to the chairs because the tax is paid for them. However, I do not believe that all should be held responsible for the cost if a party damages or does not return the town's property. Do we have a current inventory of what we own?
We need to do one.
Okay.
And we should probably also discuss some condition of some of the chairs back there, especially the fact that we're gonna be putting in before.
Okay.
A lot of them are pretty banged up, they don't have like these rubber pieces.
Okay.
So some look like they're probably gonna have to be replaced.
Replaced or just have the rubber pieces replaced?
Half and half.
Okay.
So they sound pretty.
My thoughts are this, I like the idea of a deposit, and I think that we need to at least progress that way to where we can have some sort of a better mechanism to make sure that they're returned. I also do not want to try to fix a problem that has not yet occurred. I don't think we've lost any tables or chairs by loaning them out that I'm aware of.
We haven't been keeping inventories.
And that's one of the things I think that up front we need to do is we need to do a complete inventory of what we have. We need to establish some sort of a formal process where they sign them out, sign them back in, because otherwise how are we gonna know?
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want to add too much more to Craig's plate, but I also don't know who else we would hand it to.
Well, this wouldn't be just me, you know, like, I mean, myself or Chris can easily handle the inventory and,
Okay.
you know, it would just have to be, they would have to pick it up on Friday and return it on Monday.
Yeah.
And myself or Chris can
Okay.
do that, so.
All right, so we'll, if you can get that current inventory to us, and then
Yeah.
we'll talk about establishing the policy and get some sort of a more of a formal sign-up process going.
And the reason why I brought like the, you know, at the $50, that'd be a good way to replenish a lot of the broken, just. old used.
It would, I always get nervous when we get into, I really don't want to be in the rental business.
Yeah.
I would really rather not. We have accommodated townspeople, and I would like to be able to continue to do that as best we can. But I would really rather if somebody needs 500 chairs, they go rent them from a rental company. It would be a whole lot easier on us.
Yeah,
But
and I agree with that.
I don't really want to be in the rental business. So
Yeah.
I understand and I applaud that, but I'd rather,
And I feel, you know, a lot of Ossipee residents come here because they know they can get it for free and try to circumnavigate the.
and there's no question, no question. Okay. We have a contract for use of facilities. It's for wedding on July 1st. It's been okayed by Craig, they paid the deposit. I make a motion we approve it. All in favor? Aye.
That's actually for the usage of tables and chairs for that day.
Okay,
Which they're totally fine. They've been told they can take 10 tables and 50
Okay.
chairs.
we have a notice of decision from the zoning board of adjustment regarding the Westwood Shores property. The board voted to deny their administrative appeal for the Town of Freedom, and this, there's another appeal period in place. This is on water and sewer. Their check voucher total for the week is $7,247.99. I make a motion we approve it. All in favor? Aye. Okay. That's the old business. Under old business 28-171, anything new, Brad?
No, I haven't spoken to anybody or got any updated information on that one.
Okay. Hazardous dilapidated buildings. We heard anything back from the town attorney yet?
No, we
Can you-
haven't. I know the one on Bay Point Road was removed,
It's gone.
and I'm not sure about Danville Road. I'll have
Can
to-
you double check on that for next week?
Yeah.
And I know, Brad, I spoke to you earlier today, there's no update on the covered bridge.
No, but I
Okay.
will get something shortly here for you on that.
Sign ordinance, the only thing I would add is that we did meet last week. We're working on it and continue to invite anybody that has an opinion to join us. I don't
Hopefully
think
for next week.
Hmm?
Hopefully for next week.
next Monday.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that we can do it next Monday with the other stuff that's already on the agenda. So probably will be the Monday after that, but stay posted. I've got windows on
Yeah.
Ossipee.
Greg?
For brush removal on here.
Right. We had discussed this before, as to who was gonna do, because Ralph was doing it, and he spoke to Brad about it, getting down there and mowing.
We tabled it in the fall.
We tabled it before. No, I didn't see it when we talked about it.
Okay, because we had tabled it in the fall because there was the question of an elected official completing the work.
Right.
And then we brought it back up.
Right, and Ralph can't do it because
Okay.
he's on the commission. It's against the state RSA. So, I remember we discussed this.
About, we're talking about taking
The brush.
stuff out so many feet from the edge of the parking lot there, is that what it was?
Whatever they've been trimming,
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but yes.
I don't think we talked about going all the way back through that whole property, I think it was a certain amount of feet, like 25 or 50 feet, I thought we talked about.
I don't recall at all talking about the highway department down there.
Yeah, we did.
No, not me either.
Was I sitting here when we talked about it? Was when we did the Ron Adams and other things?
I remember talking about it back in the fall, but I don't remember ever talking about the highway department.
No,
Yeah, not recently,
neither.
no.
Not
Because last
recently.
fall, we mentioned it, then there was that question about Ralph
Right.
being able to do it or not, and so
Well, it's not a case that he can't do it. He
No,
can't do it.
we had
and
to put it out to bid. We were gonna put it out to bid, and we decided not to put it out to bid in the fall because it wasn't gonna make any sense. We were gonna wait and see when the brush removal was gonna take place and put it out
Okay,
to
and I'm
bid.
all good with putting it out to bid now. I don't have a problem, making a motion to put it out to bid, but I'm not necessarily in favor of the highway guys doing that.
Whatever.
No, they got other stuff to do.
Well, they're building bridges right now. So, I'll make a motion that we proceed, that we prepare bids to go out for the tree work that needs to be done down at the windows on the hospital.
Right, brushwork.
Brushwork, tree work, whatever it is.
Second.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye. If you will get a hold of somebody from the Conservation
I
Commission.
believe I have the specifications
Okay.
that Ron Adams did in the fall, so.
Very good.
we should be able to just dust those
Okay.
off.
All right. New business. The tax deeded property auction is scheduled for June 24th
10 a.m. here at the town hall.
here. What's the 175A Route 16B property claim?
I was thinking that somebody was gonna show up, but they didn't. I had two guys that came in on Friday. That's one of the properties that's on the auction list.
Okay.
They wanted to go in there and clean up the scrap metal and perhaps give the town a portion of it. I wasn't sure if it was something you wanted to do before the auction.
No. I think that's something that we would have an awful lot of liability on, to be honest with you. I don't think that's a wise idea. I think if, presuming the property sells, which they always have, that's up for them to negotiate with the new owner after the auction.
Okay.
Would be my thoughts. You want to add anything to that, Sam? Taxation of unregistered campers RVs.
And I left that on there from last week. 'Cause
Okay, I think there's nothing new on that
There's
yet.
nothing, I'm not getting any traction legislatively because the budget gets voted on, the state budget, Thursday, so everybody's quite busy.
Okay.
But I am mentioning this
Good.
from town to town in every meeting, and apparently, like I said before, other people are having a similar problem.
Okay. Public input. Second one. Anybody? Phil?
Yeah, I got approached by the chief this afternoon, Ossipee Fire Chief, about the ISO. You probably know what I'm talking about our flows, our hydrant flows, because I give them a map of all the hydrants and the flows, but it's 2010, and I guess that they'd like to have an updated version, but they need it within 2 weeks, and that's not enough time, because it's not something I do. the last time it was done by Wright and Pierce, it can be done by Hoyle and Tanner or whoever, but it's not something that I can get done that fast for them. I mean,
That is for the ISO ratings, actually for people's insurance.
right,
You know, the higher it is, the higher your insurance is, the lower it is, the lower your insurance is.
yeah.
Okay, this is something though that the precinct has asked the water department to do?
I guess that's Mike talked to you about it. I guess he talked to him about it. We asked Randy a long time ago to do it, and she did do it in 2010.
2010,
But it has to be done every so often.
right, and that's what he was saying, but,
And they're coming to our department, I guess, next week or this
yeah,
Who's coming?
ISO.
ISO.
Who's ISO?
Don't ask me, it has to do with the
Has to do with
insurance ratings.
insurance.
Okay.
It's, they're the people that determine the insurance rates.
Well, that's all well and good, but
No,
I
know,
might like to
don't-
know who is requiring that we spend thousands of dollars. I mean, I don't know who ISO is.
Right.
It seems to me that it shouldn't be the fire chief that comes to the water department to ask for that. It seems to me if that insurance company needs something from the water department, they ought to contact them directly.
Well, they run it through the fire department, because that's what it is. It's rated on your
Yes, with the fire
insurance.
department somehow.
Right. I don't know, I'll have them come next week and talk to you about it.
That would be a wonderful idea, and then we'll know who
I didn't
ISO
budget
is.
for it or anything, I didn't budget for, to have that done. I mean,
Well,
I'm
I'm-
sure it'd be expensive.
Again, I wanna know who it is that's asking for it first,
Okay,
before we do anything and spend any money.
right.
I don't even know why it has to be done, to be honest with you, but we'll find out. Doesn't talk to me about it, so.
Well,
We'll go from
since we have an in that, you know, the person that sits here and also sits down there, maybe we
Yeah.
could get us some
I'll see
information.
what I can do for you, Mr. Morgan.
Thank you. Anything else?
I just say too that we have, the first Saturday in August, which I believe is August 5th this year, will be our household hazardous waste collection here at our highway garage. We'll be starting to promote that towards the end of this month and all through July and stuff, so people are aware of that and everything, so.
And we will be doing a second free dump day in October again.
October 12th weekend, yep.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity for people to get rid of that stuff that they don't want anymore, and especially the stuff that has this waste, stuff that needs to be disposed of properly. It's a good opportunity to do that.
I put some flyers out, what Sam has them right there, here at the town hall and a lot of public buildings that the state asked me
Yep,
to put out for the hazardous.
sure.
Did you print this or did you get this?
I printed it.
Do you have it, email, can you email it to me? Thank you. Let's see, he's my hand.
I'll be reading meters Monday, so it's out there.
Okay,
Right.
talk about, you don't wanna get bit,
Yeah, I'm about to
you don't wanna get
shot.
bit, you don't wanna get shot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
How about if we
Seems
finally
like
get
a,
a
seems like
vest?
a pretty reasonable request.
Yeah.
Anybody have anything else?
Is that on, do you want that on the website? Or is it on the website?
Yeah.
It should be on the website,
Yeah, I think.
as much
Ed,
as
anything?
possible.
No, but I found out what the ISO is.
What's ISO?
It's, you can find it on Fire Chiefs online, and it's about water supply evaluations. It's about grading the pressure for communities. I don't know if it's a state program or something the state requires. Needed fire flows, criteria for distribution. So it's all relative to classifying your water pressure, and
Okay.
that's pretty much what.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you have a hydrant pressure on a particular hydrant from 2010 with the same size pipe,
Yeah.
it's not
Thereabouts,
gonna,
but-
it's not gonna fluctuate.
When it gets into the insurance, they're pretty critical, like on fire system, on sprinkler systems and stuff like that. They have to know pretty much right down to the amount of pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've dealt with it a little bit.
Right, it says for
I
your
used to do them
community,
years ago, because I had the thing Roland used to do it with down the fire department. They used to do it themselves.
Right,
They don't do it.
right.
it says for your community to be eligible for a PPC of class 8 or better, your water supply system must be able to deliver at least 250 GPMs for a period of 2 hours. That flow is in addition to the community's maximum daily rate of consumption for purposes other than firefighting. So it must be an insurance requirement. So in order for them to give you insurance, they have to make sure that your system is functioning the way it's
And I get that, and I get that, but when you were, it sounded like you were talking about a hydrant by hydrant
It's
test.
almost every other hydrant to see how much pressure you have in it.
Right.
That doesn't make, that doesn't, I mean, using that standard, 250 gallons a minute,
Yeah.
I mean, that's I mean, you're way over that with
Oh,
a
way over
12-inch
that.
main coming
Way
down
over
from the
that.
mountain.
Yeah, but
There's some with 2,000 gallons per minute.
if you look at
The
your
covers are painted.
hydrants, there's different colored caps
I
on
know,
there.
yeah,
It tells
And
you
that
what it
is
is.
from the pressure test in 2010.
correct,
That's when they did.
yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying, it doesn't, it doesn't realistically change hardly at all. At all. I mean, if a 12-inch main that produced 2,200 gallons a minute in a square 10 years ago will produce 2,200 gallons a minute today. So before we go spending any money, I'd like to know, you know, I think we're way above that standard already. I think we're way above it. So it shouldn't be, it shouldn't be an issue. But I don't want to go and spend thousands of dollars just because somebody says we have to. I want to know.
Right.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
They don't only do water, they do a lot of other things. How many trucks you have, how many pieces of hose you have on it, you know, just how many drivers you have, how many guys you have working for you. It's a number of things.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
And once, I hope, before you guys have spent thousands of dollars, that you knew you were required to.
Ain't gonna do it.
Okay. Anything else? No?
I don't know.
We don't have any, we covered all the tech stuff earlier. We have no other reason. I make a motion to adjourn.
Second it.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. I just don't want to spend any money we don't have to. We shouldn't have to. We have to, but I want to know who I saw.